Okay, I'll call to order the August 21st, 2023 regular meeting of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners. Our first order of business will be our Pledge of Allegiance, and Pastor Josh Wilkie, Josh. I was looking at Bill Wilkie Sheriff Wilkie.
He does resemble him a little bit.
Okay. Pastor Josh Frazier was in a meeting. He didn't think he was going to be able to get here in time, so we'll have a moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would please stand for that. Okay, next we have a public hearing tonight, which is concerning amendments to the multiple ordinances in the Haywood County, North Carolina Code of Ordinances. And our county attorney could not attend tonight because he's sick. And so I'm going to ask our Assistant County Manager, Chris Boyd, to come forward and present. Hello, Chris. Appreciate you filling in for Frank. You administer these ordinances most in the past anyway. You probably know more than anybody.
I'm not sure I can fill in for Frank Queen, but I'll certainly try. Tonight, we have a public hearing on 6 county ordinances: Chapter 50, Solid Waste; Chapter 90, Addressing and Road Naming; Chapter 116, Adult Entertainment Establishments; Chapter 153, Mountain Ridge Protection; Chapter 155, Flood Damage Prevention; and Chapter 161, Commercial Outdoor Sports Shooting Ranges. As you may recall, in the past, the necessity to revise all of the county ordinances were based on a couple of actions by the legislature. One was session laws that amended civil penalties that counties had to change and comply with. The second was a major overhaul of General Statute 153, thus called 160D, that required major changes to types of approvals, whether administrative or board, types of hearing, types of appeals. So you've seen several of these ordinances, not these particular, but several ordinances in front of you in the last 12 months making those changes. So this is just a continuation of that. We still have about 12 more, I think, that you'll be seeing. We have a schedule to get all of those completed by the first of the year. So in these ordinances, there's 2 ordinances that have a little bit more substantial change than just what I stated: solid waste and flood damage prevention. In solid waste, we haven't made amendments to that ordinance in a period of 8-9 years now. So there were several things that had changed in statutes along the way that were very minor, like the name of the department. Our ordinance still referenced Division of Natural Resources. It's been DEQ for 5 years now. We all know who that is, and that's not a substantial enough change to warrant public hearings and this entire process. So there's some of those, some clarifications of what the solid waste laws reflect today and what can be recycled, what can be accepted at the MRF, what can be accepted at convenience centers, what can be accepted at the landfill. So there's a little bit more to solid waste. We took the opportunity to update it totally while we were making those 160D and session law changes. Flood damage prevention, we changed just a couple of definitions to match some of the general statutes based on the changes. That ordinance had not had any type of comprehensive change since about 2012. So we took that opportunity for those 2. The others are basically session law and 160D changes. If you looked at it, you will see that there's correction to grammar, spelling, punctuation, county officials' titles. Different groups have, department names have changed, those types of things. So while there's some comprehensive change to solid waste and flood, the other four are the minor session law and 160D changes.
These have been made available to the public since, I believe,
The
August 9th. Okay.
notice of public hearing was published then. This particular document that I'm carrying has been available in the county manager's office since that date. Has all of the ordinances in it with all of the track changes. It's been published on our website. It was published, notice of the public hearing was published twice in newspaper of local circulation.
You may want to ask Chris anything on those. Okay, at this time I'll ask, does anyone want to comment on any of the items Chris presented? We will be having a regular public comment period, but this is just on these ordinances. So would anyone care to address those ordinances at this time? Seeing no one, I'll close the public comment period for the public hearing. And we'll be voting on this probably at the next meeting.
We will ask the board to take action at the next meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, our next order of business is public comment, the regular comment period. I have no one that has signed up. Does anyone want to address the board at this time? Seeing no one, I'll move past the public comment, and we'll move to constituent concerns. And at this time, I would like for our Sheriff, Bill Wilkie, to come forward and speak to the SROs. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thank you.
I mean, sure.
I first want to say thank you to the commissioners, and in particular, Mr. Bryant Moorhead. Today marks the first day in Haywood County's history that schools open, and we have a school resource officer in each school. 5 deputies from the Haywood County Sheriff's Office went to work today, and I will tell you, I had the opportunity to visit 2 of those schools, and just the sigh of relief and the excitement behind having a deputy or a police officer in each of these schools was evident. I've been getting reports throughout the day just of how happy folks are that we're there, and it's not lost on them the commitment that this board and that the citizens of this county and the administrators, particularly Mr. Moorhead, the effort that they've put into making this happen is substantial, and it's been very well received. It's one of those moments in a career where you realize all the work and the busyness of a day and all the things that you go through, the administrative tasks, whether you have a business or you work in public safety, a lot of things that you do that the public doesn't see. And a lot of these things support things like this SRO program today, and I got to see those results firsthand, as well as at Riverbend Elementary was introducing Deputy Mike Holcomb as their school resource officer. And Deputy Holcomb got to get up, and as some of you may know, he has 25 years experience as a state trooper. And he got to speak to a group of 4th graders, and it just warmed my heart to see the reaction of those children and the teachers and the principal and the questions they ask and just the insight they have, and knowing that they're safe and knowing that somebody cares enough to commit to putting folks in a school to keep them safe. And I will tell you, it was a moment for me. And it was a moment because I got lost in all that busyness, but for once I got to see the result of that commitment. We have something very special here in Haywood County, and it was evident today, and we work every day to try to keep that sense of community together, and that was a huge step towards doing that. And I would like to personally thank Mr. Moorhead. I mean, we have spent hours on the phone, literally meetings, talking about how these things are going to working out all the administrative details, and I don't know the finances like he does. I'm not concerned with it. I'm concerned with having competent people in these schools. And we reached that goal because of his effort and because of your support. And it's not lost on them. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you for what you've done to make this possible. And folks know that you support us. And it's an honor today, especially to be sheriff of this county. And I thank you very much for what you've done. So.
Bill, I appreciate your work. I know you were concerned and maybe even a little nervous about getting enough staff and getting it on time. In fact, you warned us you probably wouldn't, but you did.
Right.
And it sounds like everything kind of fit together the way it should.
It did, and what you don't see are the other moving pieces, because once we took, and you may remember, I'm sure you do, in our discussions leading up to this, I had to take 5 people out of regular operations, get them into school resource officers' positions, have the backfill, and working with Mr. Moorhead for the first time in the history of our agency, we were actually able to hire 4 individuals, pay them to go through BLET. We were actually able to really handpick some qualified people. And the idea behind that is we're investing in them, and we ask them to serve at least 3 years with us, with a goal and the idea that they stay with us, hopefully for an entire career. And that was a significant step too. And all that's part of this, because in January, those slots will be backfilled by these individuals that are coming through Haywood Community College, BLET, and again, should be out of FTO in January. So that was a piece that the public doesn't see, and you may not see or understand about how we do this administratively, but Mr. Moorhead saw that and worked very closely with me to change some things and make sure that happened, and we were well within policy and what we spent and how we did it, and I got quite an education through that process from him, but we made it happen, and that's significant, and I appreciate your comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You know, for, I guess, 7 or 8 years, I've asked, for this from a commissioner standpoint, and I didn't have the support, but I appreciate this board lending that support because I think the most important, one of the most cherished things we have are our kids, and that needs to be protected amongst all, because when you look across the nation, it's really not going to be if but when, I think.
Yes.
And
yes.
With today's mental health issues and everything, so and when you're talking about Riverbend, that was one of the schools that that was one of those outliers, if you
Right.
will. It's a little bit out there, and it's a little ways to get to it. And so
you may have noticed also in the Mountaineer, there was an article on the front page from last weekend that showed the training that we were doing for active shooter response. Our training division within the sheriff's office has been actively planning that, and every deputy in the sheriff's office, most every deputy in the sheriff's office, and several from the surrounding jurisdictions, Canton, Waynesville, and Maggie, came through that training to prepare for the worst. And I was very pleased with how it was set up, how it went, and its ability to prepare us for, God forbid, the worst case scenario. But they're ready, and they're ready to stand up for our kids. And again, God forbid that day comes, but we're trained, we're ready, we're prepared. And that was another big piece to this. So we're getting there.
thanks a lot.
Thank
Bill.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate all your work on that.
Thank you.
Okay. And then as far as constituent concerns, Jennifer, do you have any?
I just wanted to kind of tag on to what Sheriff Wilkie said. I think Commissioner Ramey and maybe some of the rest of you were able to be at that training. Interagency, it was Sheriff's Office, our EMS, and our fire departments were all there, and we were able to witness some of that training and meet those folks that are in the SRO positions. And it gives me peace. My son's 23 years old and no longer in school, but it definitely, as a parent, gives us peace to know that those men and women are there serving in those roles, and there definitely seem to be the right candidates for that. They're personable, which will be important to the children and the staff in the schools, but also ready to take up arms, so to speak, if the moment ever comes. So I just wanted to say thank you for including me in the opportunity to see that training and to see all of those agencies work together. It was very interesting. We were certainly glad to have you. Yeah, I said it's. Somebody asked me how it was, and I said, well, it was great. And I said, no, that's the wrong word. But I said, it was scary, but that's the wrong word. So it was all the things, but it's good to see that everybody was doing, learning what they needed to do and are very familiar. So all those agencies working together. I'm proud of us as a board that we stepped up and did that. It's like you said, the most important ones we have are our little ones that don't have a voice. And so I feel like we've helped to protect them. So.
Bill's on it. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, I also say thank you to the sheriff for that program, and of course, we stand behind you. And I do have a couple of comments. I was privileged to be to the CDL training out at HCC, the graduating class, first class. I think Commissioner Best and Commissioner Ramey was also there, but I knew a whole lot of those folks. I worked with them at the mill, and it was through a joint effort through a lot of agencies that pulled that off. That was the inaugural class, and it was nice to be there. We had representatives from the state, the federal Department of Labor and Commerce, and it was a very, very nice send-off to those guys. So I was privileged to participate in that. Also, I continue to get comments about Tropical Storm Fred. I tell you what, I don't think many women would name their child Fred here lately. I tell you,
Haywood County.
Fred really lingers. But the bids did go out on some of those stream cleanup projects, and I've talked to some guys that are on top of it that had been asking me when the sections of river would be bid out, and I did get in touch with those folks, and information's on the website, and a lot of people are checking that out. And I had a moment of reflection the other day. I was out working on August the 17th, and it was a beautiful cobalt blue sky, sunny day. I mean, it was just the exact opposite of what it was 2 years ago. And I sat there and I thought to myself, wow, what a difference the day is compared to 2 years ago. And of course, we have done a lot of work. The state stood behind us. I was actually in a flood mitigation meeting last Wednesday on some property in Canton, and it's still a work in progress. It's still an ongoing situation, and but I do appreciate everybody and our county government, state and federal government that stood behind our people in Haywood County, and are still standing behind those folks as we continue to try to get over that. So that's about all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Just a quick thank you to the sheriff. I know that a lot of hard work was put in to have those officers put in place before the school year started, and we appreciate your help and your administration along with ours. I know it's a joint effort, and many thanks. That's probably one of the most important things we've done as commissioners is I know it costs a little money, which I hate that part of it, but it's probably the best money, best spent money that we've done as commissioners. So knowing that our kids are safe, that's priceless, and I appreciate the board's support, appreciate your support. And as Tommy said, I've probably had more phone calls over Fred than I have any other thing that we've had happen since I've been a sitting commissioner. But that's okay. Like I've said before, that's why I do what I do, and we've took care of those. I've got with the county manager and made return phone calls and emails trying to address all those concerns. So hopefully we'll see that river cleaned up like it should be before too long. And anybody that's got any questions, feel free to call.
And I'll just say too, the county was very blessed to have, Brandon and Tommy both living in that community and have the contacts with the people that you did. That was definitely, I know, helped everybody understand. Go ahead, Terry.
I just want to thank Sheriff for having me over at that training. It was really eye-opening. You don't realize what it really consists of till you see it in action. And we got a good crew, I believe, in place because every one of them were real professional and they did a real good job. I just want to thank you for having me on that. And on the HCC graduation thing, we went to that one. It was good to see all those guys tickled to death about getting their CDLs. They was ready to go to work. And I sort of agree with that. I believe a lady was from Commerce Department, said that's the best class they'd had so far. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. And I did want to make a comment about Tropical Storm Fred. The one thing I remember about Tropical Storm Fred, the day after, when I was able to go to Crusoe, I think every piece of equipment in Haywood County was working there because Haywood County people went in and took care of Haywood County people, and they didn't wait for the government to get there. The government got there later, but they definitely took the bull by the horns and were out there working and getting things back where they needed to be. So I want to thank Haywood County and those. I know they probably didn't get paid for any of that. They were just all out there. They had a piece of equipment they're out there working. So that was very heartwarming to see that. Brian, also, I know we've had several contacts, emails about and calls about the sewer plant in Canton, the site. And I just would you explain so that in that way, everybody will know what our board can do and what our position can even be on that.
Unless it's really out of our jurisdiction. This is the town of Canton's project. If it's building a police department, a town hall, or a new wastewater plant, that's their project. We really don't have any legal footing to get involved in their work. They're a separate governmental entity. They don't need us for that. We don't have any approval, say-so, or anything related to the project. It's really between whoever they're buying the land from, their engineers, and how they serve the public. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. If there's anything else you'd like to talk about, I can bring it up.
Just kind of want to get the word out. Because, I think people feel like we can do something and we can't. And I've got some real strong opinions on where it ought to go, but that's not my call. I've got to stay in my lane,
The permitting is largely done at the state level. It's not something that's really within this board's authority.
I got a whole bunch of them emails too, and I talked to Zeb down at the graduation day, and he was going to address them people and tell them, it was Canton's deal. He said he'd handle it for us.
Okay, all right, good. Appreciate that. Okay, so our next order is administrative agency reports and presentation, and this is a great presentation. We have our Milltown Healthcare Coverage Initiative. We have and David Francis couldn't be here tonight, but we have United Way Executive Director Celisa Willett and Haywood Health Foundation Chairman Neil Budd. And I don't think, is Jan Plummer here from, she didn't make it, I don't think. Okay, but come on up, Celisa and Neil. And Chris, was you going to address anything on that? No? Okay. Welcome, Celisa.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and the United Way of Haywood County is pleased to partner with the county and Mountain Projects to provide medical insurance premium reimbursements to those affected by the Pactive Evergreen closure, thanks to the $1 million grant from Dogwood Health Trust. And in July, 226 people were served, and so far this month, 210 have been served, and $130,992.43 has been spent on insurance reimbursements, and $1,601.83 in health-related gap needs have been met. So we thankful for that partnership. I also want to tell you about flood recovery as far as United Way's standpoint.
Okay.
We have $188,792 left in our account on that. So we're still helping folks that OSBM is building their house along with Baptist on Mission. And we are helping with appliances and furniture and other household goods to help get them back in their homes so they'll have a safe and happy place to live. Thank you.
You.
And then, so, did Neil, did you have something to say? Welcome, Neil. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good to be here representing the Haywood Healthcare Foundation. Serving on the board since 2019 and have had a good time and wound up as chair this past January. And the Haywood Healthcare Foundation, as you know, are the stewards of the money that was presented to the county for the sale of the hospital back in 2014. And I think since that date, our board has done a wonderful job in meeting our goal of helping meet the unmet needs of healthcare throughout the county. And we appreciate being the stewards of that. And a few of our board members are here this evening. We have Sarah Banks, who's with us, who also is the health director in the county. And we have Chip Killian, who many of you know, who spent many a year here prior to his retirement. And we have, of course, insiders on our board as well, with Tommy Long, who we appreciate very much, and Bryant Moorhead, and myself. So we do have approximately 17 members on the board, and we've given grants every year now since the Haywood Healthcare Foundation was formed. And in the past 4 years, we've given out a little over $1,100,000 to help those unmet needs, and really believe that it's gone a long way to help a lot of agencies throughout the county to serve those really in need. And as a part of that, one of my distinct pleasures is to present to the county and its agencies that are monitoring and administering this program, United Way and the Mountain Projects Organization, with a most recent grant of $110,000 to help meet the interim health care insurance coverage for those mill workers that lost their jobs, as well as people that were indirectly impacted throughout Haywood County by the mill closure. So it's my distinct pleasure to be here and really believe that it'll help the county. So thank you very much.
And I think we were going to do a photo, correct? We were going to do a photo. You want us to come down front, right? Come down.
As Neil is heading back to his seat, I would like to remind everyone that also the Haywood Healthcare Foundation is having a golf gala coming up on August the 30th at Laurel Ridge Country Club, and the purpose of this is to serve the food insecurity needs of elderly people and children in Haywood County. And the fundraiser for that, again, is August 30th. You can make a donation or come out and play golf. So if you need any information about that, you can talk to me or any of these fine folks on the back row back here. And that will be again August 30th at the golf tournament will be August the 30th. And then there'll be a buffet gala meal afterwards. So again, that is the fundraiser to help serve the food insecurity needs of elderly and children in Haywood County. So that's another great project that the Haywood Healthcare Foundation Board is involved with. So thank you for that.
I did want to comment also. I know whenever I think Congressman Chuck Edwards had the mayor from Kannapolis come up when they had an issue with the Pilotech plant, I guess, and when they had closed, and they talked about health insurance whenever the workers, they ran out of health insurance and they really were unprepared to face that, and it really put a big burden, and it may here too, but we've jumped on top of that, and I want to thank everybody that participated in these monies, if you will, to help workers be able to get their premiums paid, at least until they can get back on their feet for a little while and make sure that they have health coverage. So I think we're being very proactive, and I appreciate our staff. I know David Francis worked really hard on that, and Blue Cross, I think, worked hard on getting this established. Blue Cross Blue Shield, and there were some others. So, but just thank all the organizations that were just mentioned, Mountain Projects and Haywood Health Foundation. And of course, Haywood County also chips in some too. So we want to try to soften this blow as much as we, lighten it as much as we can. I have talked with workers at the mill, and they've told me stories about their health care and how important it is. And I was so glad that our staff came up with this idea to really help keep people in their health insurance, because it's very important. It doesn't take long, just a week or two, and it's almost the cost of a house that you could be in the hospital. So it's good that we're trying to stay on top of that. Okay, so our next order of business will be discussion adjustment to the agenda, and I do not have anything. Does anybody have any discussion or adjustment to the agenda? Okay. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions about any item on the 8 items on the consent agenda?
Even on that number 8, what is that exactly on that?
Okay, Brian, you want to?
I don't have the full packet in front of me. This is an additional $219,000 coming from the state to offset basically health department cost communicable disease. I believe originally it was 287, and we didn't spend all of that last year, so this is the balance that we were able to carry forward. I think Ira and Sarah are both here if you have any specific questions with that.
Good. Okay.
For the salaries and wages part too, if I remember correctly, right?
Any other questions on that? On anything? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. We approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Or second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, our next order of business is a regular agenda, and we have 2 items. The item number 1 is to request approval of order collections, which is a charge letter, to collect 2023 tax bills. We have our tax collector, Sebastian Cothran, here to speak to that. Welcome, Sebastian. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners. So this is the time of the year where I have to request approval to collect the 2023 taxes. The order collections gives me that authority and also gives me the authority to use enforced collections when that time comes. It's kind of just a thing that I have to ask for you guys to approve, and I'd like to request approval of that.
Anybody have any questions for Sebastian? This is something we have to do every year.
Yes.
When will those letters be going out, Sebastian?
Can you repeat that, please?
When will those letters be going out?
They should be going out the first week of September, maybe a little bit earlier. And then they're due by January 5th, like always.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 1 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, Sebastian. Okay, item 2 is to request approval of a resolution to approve changing human resources oversight of the Haywood County Health and Human Services Agency from the Office of State Human Resources to Haywood County Human Resources. We have our Human Resources Director, Christy Fox, here tonight, and then I was there to have backup, so.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here to request a resolution be passed to switch our current DSS and public health employees over to the county. Right now, they are under the state. Being under the state can be very restrictive as far as qualifications for employees. Very rigid. If someone's short a month of service, they're not a candidate. We are only one of 3 agencies, 3 counties that currently have this model. The default was for when they're consolidated, they should come over to be county employees. That decision was not made back in 2014, so we're asking this to be revisited. Right now, under the state, employees can only be terminated for just cause, and they do have certain decisions that they can appeal to the State Office of Administrative Hearings. But the bar that we have to meet for them to come over to the county is we have to have a merit system, which we've had since 2014. We have to have due process. Again, we already have that in place. And we also have to have a grievance procedure. Again, we've had that since 2014. Right now, all of the employees over at HHSA follow the county policy book. They have to follow everything that's in there as far as discipline, as far as holidays, as far as everything else. To bring them over to the county, I think we're going to create a lot more interest in their positions. We can advertise the positions for what the county determines is needed for the jobs. I think the greater pool of applicants is going to give us more choices and hopefully the ability to attract and retain people here in Haywood County and the surrounding counties. There's no impact to state funding or federal funding. The benefits are exactly the same. The merit system is the same and the pension plan is the same. So basically, in addition to all of that, I met with the Health and Human Services Board, and they strongly support and recommend that we make this change. So I respectfully request the board to approve this resolution to change the current state employees to Haywood County employees. So what questions do you have?
Oh, Commissioner Rogers serves on that board. Would you like to comment on that?
Sure, I don't mind. I guess my initial concern was if there's going to be any impact to funding. As you heard, there's no impact to funding whatsoever. And of course, my next question was, how do our directors feel, at HHS? And I believe every one of them that we asked during the meeting supported it 100%. Said that's the direction that we should go in. So, and then we have some board members. Chairman Reeves is here tonight, and Neil Budd, of course, is sitting in the back, and of course, Ira's here. But it was unanimous when we voted, and I fully give it my support just simply because it gives us local control. And anytime we can have local control, we all know that is important because nobody knows what we need here more than we do. So it was unanimous, and the full board supported it. So
I had the opportunity to speak with Christy about this a few weeks ago, and I was shocked to hear that 97 other counties already had adopted this model, and there's only 3, us, Haywood County.
We're one of the 3.
Right, so, thank you.
How many employees does it impact?
Ira, what's your employee count now?
That changes day to day. We have about 210 positions, so we'll have about 210 positions. So the exact employee number that I have sitting over there today, well, we brought in 2, didn't lose any today, so
That's moving in the right direction.
we're moving in the right direction. I would say we're probably ballpark 155-ish. But we have 210 positions when we're fully staffed.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically, if this change is approved, it'll be totally transparent. They'll come in tomorrow just like they would any other day.
Well, the thing I heard is it expands the pool of employees,
Right.
which is going to save money because we're not training somebody
You're exactly
that
right.
may or may not, well, I guess they're qualified according to that model, but maybe not qualified according to what we need. So I think that'll be a big plus and actually save money overall, and when you really look at it.
Yeah.
we have a lot of vacant positions at HHS, and so many times we've been so close of getting somebody in based off the standards that are set. And I know Sarah gives some fine examples of that, and we just couldn't hire the folks, so putting it in our hands will change that. So
More flexibility.
gives us a whole lot more flexibility.
Questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 2 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Okay, is there a
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that y'all brought this forward.
Thank you.
Next order of business is appointments, but we do not have any. And then after that, the next is closed session. We do have one item in closed session. Per North Carolina General Statute 143-318A1, to provide confidential or privileged information as defined by North Carolina General Statute 132-1.7. So I'll entertain a motion, we go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll be in closed session when we enter the chambers in the back. Okay. Okay, we've returned from closed session. Does anybody have any further business for the board tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Everybody be safe.